Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today we're reading from the Bhagavad Gita. We're reading 18th chapter, verse 68. So if everybody has a copy, then maybe we can do a little recitation. Ya idam paramam guyam Madbhakteshav abhityashati Bhaktim mayim param kritva Mama eva yas asamshaya. Does anybody want to try leading to chant? Yes, sir.
Ya idam paramam graham
Ya idam paramam guyam
Madbhakteshu abhitashyati
Madbhakteshu abhitashyati
Bhaktim mayi param kritva
Bhaktim mayi param kritva
Mama evaishat asamshaha
Mama evaishat asamshaya. What, right?
Ya idam paramam guhyam
Ya idam paramam guhyam
Madbhakteshva abhidashyati
Madbhakteshu abhitashyati
Bhaktim mayi param kritva
Bhaktim mayi param kritva
Mam evashyatya asamshaya
Mama evashyatya asamshaya. Anybody else?
Ya idam paramam guhyam
Ya idam paramam guhyam
Madbhakteshu abhitashyati
Madbhakteshu abhitashyati
Bhaktim mayi param kritva
Bhaktim mayi param kritva Anybody else? One more we can do.
Ya idam paramam guhyam
Ya idam paramam guhyam
Madbhaktesha abhishyate
Madbhakteshu abhitashyati
Bhaktim mayi param kritva
Bhaktim mayi param kritva
Mame vyashri asamshaya.
Mama evashyatya asamshaya. That's what I do. Try Mataji. Go ahead.
Ya idam paramam guhyam
Ya idam paramam guhyam
Madbhakteshu abhidasyati
Madbhakteshu abhishyate
Bhaktim mayi param kritva
Bhaktim mayi param kritva
Mamevasyati asamsaya
Mama evashyatya asamshaya. I'm going to read the translation in purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. For one who explains the supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end he will come back to me. Purport. Generally, it is advised that Bhagavad Gita be discussed amongst devotees only. For those who are not devotees will not understand neither Krishna nor Bhagavad Gita. Those who do not accept Krishna as he is and Bhagavad Gita as it is should not try to explain Bhagavad Gita whimsically and become offenders. Bhagavad Gita should be explained to persons who are ready to accept Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead. It is a subject matter for the devotees only and not for philosophical speculation. Anyone, however, who tries sincerely to present Bhagavad Gita as it is will advance in devotional activities and reach the pure devotional state of life. As a result of such pure devotion, he is sure to go back home, back to Godhead. I'm also going to read the translation of the next verse. There is no service in this world more dear to me than he who will there ever be more dear.
No servant.
Servant.
There is no servant.
Oh, there's no service. Sorry. Thank you so much for the correction. So this is a very interesting verse, right? And there's a reason why I picked this up today. From the verse, there's conversations about explaining this secret knowledge to somebody. And then there are a few bullet points given in the two verses with respect to, what is the benefit of doing such a thing. First, it is talking about in this verse over here that pure devotional service is guaranteed. That's the first outcome of trying to give this science to somebody. The second, it says is at the end, he will come back to me. Right? 1868. And then in the next verse, he's saying, there is no other servant who is more dear to me than who is doing this. So you become dear to Krishna. So three advantages that have been talked about over here, and we'll discuss that a little bit in detail and a little bit of the other aspects of the verse over here. Right? So first let's try and understand when the benefits are being talked to us. It's like you try to go to a particular store and you're trying to buy something, and then they say this product has such nice features, and then and if you're trying to say, for example, buy a car, and then the salesperson saying, you know what, this car has the highest fuel consumption ever. Will you buy that? Right? So even if somebody is trying to very persuasively try to give us that these are the benefits, we have to use our intelligence to see, is it really a benefit? Is it worth the effort that is being asked over here to put it on? So that is going to be our starting point, right? So when Krishna is saying that the pure devotional service is guaranteed, so this is service that we are talking about, right? Krishna is guaranteeing, is asamshaya, there is no samshaya, there is no doubt about it, that you will get pure devotional service. But what is pure devotional service? Coming to the temple, cleaning the temple, cooking for the Lord, every weekend's busy. So why would we be excited about getting more and more of a job? Right? It's like saying, to somebody, you do nice and I'm going to give you more work to do. Why is Krishna saying that's exciting? Let's look at it from a materialistic perspective for a minute first. Right? And then we'll go into the devotional aspect of things. You're fresh graduate out of your college. You don't have a job. Anywhere you're going, you're being asked saying you have to have a pre-qualification. You need to have work experience to be able to get this job. Have you experienced that?
Yes.
Right? Every time wherever you're going and saying you have to have this experience, skill set, required exposure to this job that you're trying to do, only then can you get the job. Otherwise you cannot. And how do you get the experience that is needed for this job? Is to get a job. What is the starting point? That has been a debate in the material world also for a long time. It is until unless somebody is kind enough to give you that first opportunity where you get your foot into the door does the cycle start. But let's understand this. Even in this job that we might have with great difficulty got, even in that, what is the benefit you're getting, right? Even in that thing, okay, I'm getting work experience. If nothing else, the first job that I took up when I came to Canada was very low paid. And I specifically took up that low paid job because it was giving me the networking capability. That I'll be in the middle of the downtown Toronto with networking capabilities around, and from there, 2 years I'll survive somehow, and then I'll get the job that I would like to take. So there are opportunities, there's this add-on side benefits that we see because of which we say, even if you're not paying me high, or as an, what is it called? Interns, thank you so much. Even as interns, without a pay also, I'm going to come and work for you. And interns are the ones who are actually made to work the hardest. They're the ones who are made to run around and do the most crazy stuff. So in that perspective also we are seeing, that working is somehow or the other leading to us being able to elevate ourselves in some way or the other. Now if you look at it, we always have to work, right? Our inherent nature is to be active. And we will have to do a job, or we will have to do work at home, or we will have to do work somewhere else, but we will have to work. The aspect that Krishna is saying is that when you're trying to work in all of these different places to get your salary, to get your promotions, to get all of those things, I'll give you the opportunity to work for me. And when you work for me, and when you're working with me having as a center, then that's on a very different platform. That takes you from the platform of being materialistic to being a spiritualist. That opportunity, that incentive is that you're getting a foot into the door. So that is the starting point. For all of us who have had an experience to have a starting point somewhere with our devotional service, we'll always have the experience that the starting point is always we doing something for the Lord. Even if it was when we grew up and we started coming in and we started doing actively something, even if it was to lay down these chairs over here or pack it up afterwards, no matter what that kind of service was, that service is what connected us to the purpose. We might have been a kid, and we might be having the kid who's been made to run around here and there, and through that we got the experience. The parents are the first, that's why they call first gurus, because they're the first ones who engage us into the service of the Lord. So in some way or the other, all of these things are ways in which a fresh graduate, in terms of a fresh graduate here, and this is a soul who's been able to get the human form of body. He's been given the opportunity to start getting engaged. But why is that? Because that's our inherent nature. We keep serving here and there, and we're trying to put in all our efforts into a bank account, which ultimately is going to get zero when we die. So all the qualifications that we try and gain, all the money that we try and gain, we know that ultimately it will go down to zero. That does not mean we're not going to put in that effort, because we have to still survive and take care of the body also as an instrument. But the skill set of being able to do this for the Lord, to be able to do devotional service to the Lord, is the one which is taking us to start putting in money into the bank account, which is ultimately going to stay with us. That's the skill set, right? So the incentive that we're getting to this devotional service is that we're able to now fulfill our constitutional positions of being the eternal servant of the Lord. So once we do that, Krishna is saying, I'm giving you an opportunity to get that taste of your own original constitutional position. Now imagine you're very, very, very thirsty. And in that thirst, you're trying out different type of drinks to quench your thirst. You're trying out coffee, it's making you more thirsty. You're trying out something else, or you're trying out something else, it's not helping. It's only when we experience water, That is when we come to the point of saying, oh wow, even if we tried all of these fancy sodas out there, right, which advertises as being thirst quenchers or relief givers, we have the experience that when we are really, really, really thirsty, that's not what we want. We want water. That can give us temporary benefit only. So Krishna is saying, when you get engaged into sharing this science with somebody else, I'm going to give you devotional service, and the devotional service is going to give you the taste by which you will realize your constitutional position. That's an amazing incentive, because then we start directing ourselves in the right direction. Not just this, right? We talked about in the material world networking skills, being able to do networking, and because of that also you might end up taking a job. So this job of devotional service we take up because we are able to build a network of associating with the devotees. The association of the devotees is the strongest thing that can. Lava matra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hoy. Lava matra is like the tiniest portion of time also spent with a pure devotee. Sarva siddhi hoy is all things that can be achieved is already achieved with that. And what is that all things that can be achieved is that is understanding of how service is supposed to be done and what is our constitutional position and how do we act accordingly. A devotee is very kind. All the Vaishnavas around the world, they are very kind enough to keep reminding us continuously. That is what we are getting through this. And finally, the biggest one is, so this process of devotional service is how we are able to cleanse ourselves internally. We have a lot of dirt built in from a long period of time. We are able to do a cleansing of that process so that we are able to see clearly. I wear glasses. If my glasses are dirty, I cannot see through. The ones who drive, the windshield is dirty, you cannot see through. You'll go and bump into something. It is important for us to have a clear vision. And that clear vision comes in through association of devotees, and it comes in through devotional service. And that is the advantage of the devotional service. So that incentive that Krishna is saying over here is worthwhile the effort that he's asking for it. What is the next thing he says? He says, at the end, you will come to me. Now, when you come to him, what does that mean? And why is that an incentive? Right? So he says, so one thing you have to understand is, and this is coming in also from the prayers of Kunti Maharani. And there's a very small book, Teachings of Kunti Maharani, also if you ever want to look into it briefly, or the best source is obviously Srimad Bhagavad, which is right here. So Kunti Maharani says that, let all the troubles come to me. I don't mind it. She's actually asking for more troubles because when I am in trouble, then Krishna, I remember you. And she's referring to being able to remember. This is just the remembrance of Krishna himself is so auspicious that it says now there is no trouble at all. So it's interesting, right? You ask for trouble so that Krishna, you can remember Krishna, and now there is no trouble. So you kind of nullifying the original trigger point itself. But that's the point. When we say that we're going back to Krishna and we're going back to Godhead, that is what it means. Like being in association with Krishna, which means everything being all auspicious. No matter what. There's no type of miseries or sufferings that will exist. In this chart, on the top you see it's called Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha means without a kunta. Kunta means sufferings. Any type of sufferings. What are the type of miseries that we suffer in the material world? There are three types, right? One which is inflicted by our own mind and body. One which is inflicted to us by somebody else. And the one which is inflicted by nature in general sense. This is what the Shastra says, right? These three types of miseries exist only in this material world because we have kind of blocked the presence of Krishna. It's not that his presence is not there. His presence he's all prevailing. His presence is existing everywhere. It is just that we have blocked ourselves from his presence. It's equivalent to like what Srila Prabhupada gives as an analogy is, the sun is existing, but now the cloud has come in between. The sun exists with its full sunshine. It's just the presence of cloud which has blocked the sunshine to come to us. So we are our ego, our false ego, in terms of identifying ourselves with the body, is what is blocking that rays of sun, the presence of Krishna to be felt even in this world. But when we say we're going back, when say Krishna, you're going to come back to me, the way the devotees see that is irrespective of where they are. They're in this material world or spiritual world or anywhere they are, the presence of Krishna means they're always connected with him in that perspective. When Srila Prabhupada was here, and he was doing his leelas in terms of going up and giving the message of Krishna to everybody, he always had Krishna with him, even when he was in Jaladita. He was so-called suffering during that journey to come to the West. Even at that time, he had Krishna next to him. There's this beautiful poem that he has written. And that kind of very clearly shows the consciousness of the devotee. So that presence of Krishna means that there's going to be no suffering no matter what. There's no birth, old age, disease, death. Any of these kind of four miseries or the threefold miseries that we talk about, none of that will exist. That's the incentive that Krishna is saying, promising that there is no doubt that you will reach that particular state. What is the third thing he says? He's saying such a devotee is going to be very, very, very dear to me. Let's take the example of what Lord Narasimha said to Prahlad Maharaj. That's a very good example to see that such a devotee is very, very dear to me, the dearmost, right? So when Lord Narasimha appeared and he killed Hiranyakashipu, and after that he was very, 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 very angry. He was still continuing to be angry. All the demigods are very afraid to approach him. Even Mother Lakshmi, she's also very afraid to approach him. Everybody's very, very scared of him in that moment. And then everybody approached Prahlad Maharaj and said, please, you go and pacify him. He appeared in this particular form only for you. And so please step forward and pacify him by your nice sweet words. Now, Prahlad Maharaj, he was not afraid at all. He stepped forward. And then Lord Narasimha very lovingly made him sit on his lap and was licking him. And then that conversation happens, right? So because Prahlad Maharaj, despite all difficult situations, what is the most difficult situation one can face is death itself. Even in the face of death, Prahlad Maharaj did not leave giving up his signs to others, to his classmates. Even to his father who was trying to kill him, he never gave up his duty of trying to give these signs to him. He never left his own sadhana, he never left his own position of being compassionate to others and try to give these signs to everybody else, even in such a difficult situation. And when Lord Narasimha he appeared and he was seeing Prahlad Maharaj, he said, you are even more dear to me than Lakshmi herself. And you can imagine the position that when you're saying that you're more dear to the Lord than Lakshmi said, then what in the world can you be lacking? Krishna is the source of everything. He's the maintainer of everything. And when such a powerful person is the one who is saying, you are very dear to me, don't worry, I'm taking care of you, then what can we be lacking in life? But why did Lord Narasimha say this to Prahlad Maharaj? Because of his characteristics that he showed. And that is what Krishna is saying, that one who is giving the signs to me, he's very dear to me. That's a pre-qualification over here. Now, when we are very dear to the Lord, we know the Lord as being the most merciful, the most compassionate, the best well-wisher that we can have. We can have well-wishers coming up to us in many different forms. Friends, families, colleagues. They can be our well-wishers. They can be watching out for us. So my office colleague or my manager or my boss can be very compassionate towards me and watch out for me to make sure that I'm able to achieve good career growth. But that is all he can do. Can he make sure that I'm not going to get unwell? No. Okay, my friend is a very good doctor. And this doctor can make sure that he's giving me all good advices, all good health advices so that I can stay healthy. But then how can he make sure that I'm wealthy? No. So every well-wisher otherwise is limited. And once we understand this aspect of Krishna as being the source of everything, the benefactor of everything, the well-wisher of everybody, in that perspective is when we attain peace, is what the Bhagavad Gita says, right? There's Bhoktaram Yajana Tapasam, Sarva Loka Maheshwaram, Suhidam Sarva Bhutanam, Yatma Mam Shanti Vrikshati. Why is that Shanti? Why is that peace achieved? It's because you are dear to Krishna now, having done all of these, brought up all of these characteristics. So these characteristics is something that we build up through a proper sadhana. It is not an overnight process. The analogy Srila Prabhupada gives to us is that when there's a fan running in at a high speed, even if you switch it off, it takes a while for it to slow down and stop ultimately. So if we think that, oh, I've come to the temple, all good, or that intermediate coming to the temple, or intermediate sadhana here and there, or intermediately doing the right thing is sufficient enough, it is not. It has to be a complete surrender. A few verses before this, right? It says, Sarva Dharma Parityaja Mama Eka Shivakya. They surrender onto me completely. That is the objective of sadhana. Now, we cannot do a full complete surrender immediately overnight. It is a process. And that process is what is called sadhana bhakti. And mercifully, Srila Prabhupada has given us that process of sadhana bhakti very practically. Of how do we, while doing everything that we are doing, mold things a little bit and bring in Krishna in the center and get rid of all the sufferings. So that is what Krishna is saying, right? So let's look at the verse again. So these are the incentives he is promising, but there is something else he says. There. He says, for one who explains the supreme science to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed. He's saying one who explains this supreme secret to devotees. So that's the actionable item here. The incentives we talked about, and we said that once we do this, then once we do the action that has been told, we get these incentives, and we kind of talked about how these incentives are very beneficial for us. Now he's saying the secret science. Now secret, why is he saying secret? There's a full chapter saying Param Guhyam Jnana, which is the most confidential knowledge, chapter 9 of Bhagavad Gita, which talks about this confidentiality itself. Now is this not contradictory in nature that Krishna is saying it's secret, but go and tell it to everybody? So are you gossiping? Say, hey, I'm only telling it to you, don't tell it to anybody else. And everybody's doing the same thing. So what is this entire secret thing, and what is this aspect about going and telling it to everybody is also very interesting science that Srila Prabhupada has practically shown us of what it means. So the first thing that Srila Prabhupada talks about in the purport is the fact that we have to be qualified enough to be able to give this knowledge to somebody else, right? And if you look at the purport of the previous verse, there are particular set of qualifications that Srila Prabhupada says, which are things that one has to be doing in order to be able to qualify to talk about this science to everybody else, which are deep postularities. He says, for example, that one has to attempt devotional service. Psychic dependency again. perform devotional service to be able to be qualified to give the signs, and then you're guaranteed to get devotional service. So we'll break that cycle in a minute. So one has to be performing devotional service in some ways to be able to qualify to be able to give the signs to anybody else. Now there's a reason for that. Till when you're not practicing yourself, how is that you can, one, tell somebody else what has to be practiced exactly, what is the experience going to be, what helped them through the journey of practicing it. If you've not seen the journey yourself, you've not seen the difficulties, then you'll not be able to talk about it. The second, of course, is from the perspective of the other person also whom you're telling it, is saying, do this, it's very nice. But you yourself not doing it, then are you going to be convincing enough for somebody else to accept it? Now, I was born in a very nice pious family. Okay, Hinduism we follow very nicely throughout, and my parents have been talking to me about do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And you know, as traditionally being, there is all these beautiful channels that come on your television in which these pravachanas and everything is continuously going on, and somebody will switch it on, and they will keep going to these temples. And you should listen, something. I never did it. I liked to step inside a temple, but I would avoid it because somebody's going to start talking to me about do something ritualistic and this and that used to push me back. Why was that? Because anybody who was trying to teach me this was not following it in themselves. It was only when I came in association with devotees over here during the Rath Yatra, that is when I saw that yes, you're telling me to do something and you're doing it yourselves. That's when I got convinced. Otherwise, I was not. So, if you want to share this science with somebody, then you have to start following it ourselves also. Right? So that is the qualification. There are very beautiful verses in the Nectar of Instruction also which talks about the qualification of a person to be a guru. Being able to control the urge of tongue, belly, genitals, so on, all 6 things in a line. So those are qualifications. Till when those qualifications are not there, how are we talking about doing the sense control to others? And then if the senses are not controlled, how is that you're trying to even put your attention to Krishna? It's not possible. So the other point that Srila Prabhupada says in that purport is the qualification is being conscious of Krishna as being the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Understanding, not just knowing, realizing the fact that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and that all activities, as we were saying, he's the benefactor and the well-wisher of everybody. Right? Understanding that and realizing that and acting always, every time, place and circumstances with that realization is what is being conscious of Krishna. And being Krishna conscious, as Srila Prabhupada says it, right? So being Krishna conscious means in every time, place and circumstances, every action, word and deed is being used in the service of Krishna. That's the qualification for us to be able to even start talking about this science to anybody else. One should not be envious of Krishna. Why is he getting so much attention? Why am I not getting attention? Or in any other ways, oh Krishna, you enjoy so much everything, you always keep asking. Every time somebody picks up a mic, there's a word donation that comes in. New temple donation, book donation, this donation, that donation. Every time they're asking, everything is going for Krishna. What is this? I've been coming to the temple for 20 years and nobody even wishes me birthday. Being envious of Krishna in any shape and form. Right? Any of that is what stops us to qualify to be even able to talk about Krishna to anybody. And the final one that Srila Prabhupada talks about is not having any demoniac mentality. That demoniac mentality in our minds of thinking wrong, doing wrong, in any shape and form. If the demoniac mentality also is being unclean, even in actions, in environment, in thoughts, anything. So the point being here is there's so many qualifications that Srila Prabhupada says that this is just the table of contents of the entire qualifications that we need to have in order to even be able to start talking about the science that has been given to us in the Bhagavad Gita. So by that, if we understand it this way, it's saying, okay, we are not qualified, are we? So we are not qualified to talk about Krishna. So this does not apply to us, giving the science to anybody, and we just sit down and say, when I'm qualified, I will start doing this, and then. Now we can be, so that's where I talked about the cyclic dependency. The first qualification was the one who's attempting devotional service. If you are attempting devotional service, only then do you qualify to be able to give the science to somebody else, which is what qualifies you to get devotional service. Have you heard this cycle before, somewhere in any other context? There's a very beautiful book which talks about it, it's the chanting. When we are chanting, then we are praying that Krishna please engage me in your service. And when we are engaged in his service, then we are able to chant better. And when we are able to chant better, then we get more service, and so on and so on and so on. The cycle keeps on going. It's similar, right? What is the starting point? I think we've talked about this in a different class before, but that starting point is Vaishnava Kripa. The mercy of a devotee would just say, can you just pick up this box from one place and keep it in another place? Can you just drop me somewhere? Can you just please get me one flower from the market very quickly? Something like that, a devotee will do it and will initiate the cycle. At first, devotional service is into. Now, this is the point of where we are saying the science, giving the science, this knowledge comes in different shape and forms. But before we do that, right? Before we come to that point, I am not qualified to give the science to somebody else, but does that mean that I should not be giving the science? If I'm on the street, we went yesterday for book distribution again, could not distribute any books, but that's okay. out there, what are we doing? What is this method that Srila Prabhupada has very mercifully given us? He's saying, it's okay, you don't know anything. I am a fool, I don't know anything. But Srila Prabhupada knows it. So here, Srila Prabhupada's book. He's the one who will teach you, I'm the one who can teach you. That is why the process of book distribution is amazing. Because in this way, you'll be merciful enough to give this science to somebody else, qualified by the words over here to be that one who's giving this science to somebody else is very dear to me. You don't necessarily have to talk. Yeah, there are very nice trainings that Srila Prabhu would give, and all of them are available online also, to help us come to a point of giving these things. But the point is, we can only talk to somebody to a certain level, both in terms of time and intensity. Our intensity is very weak because our own sadhana is very weak. We're not qualified. Our duration of the conversation with them is also limited. Maybe they stop for a minute, maybe 2 minutes. Somebody gets engaged in a very nice conversation for 10 minutes. How much can you talk about? So that is why when we are doing book distribution, Srila Prabhupada loves it so much, is because that is where we are giving them Krishna, giving the science to them through a qualified medium, we just being an instrument of making that happen. So in this ways, we can very easily qualify. Now this entire process of giving the science is multi-staged. And that is where then the association of devotees comes into the picture. Giving the science to somebody else does not just simply mean making them sit and teaching them. That's not the only thing. There are so many different ways. So one person might come to the temple, may sit down with you and be ready to listen to the science of Bhagavad Gita, and you're doing a Bhagavad Gita class. That's one way. But then, even just by you coming in towards the temple every time, coming into the temple every time regularly, you're making an impression on others around. You think, if this person goes to the temple regularly, maybe I should also. Is that not giving the science? Even the slightest action of just somebody saying, everybody we go to work on the Monday. Like one of the most common questions, how was your weekend? Yeah, I just flew by. Yeah, I did a couple of things at home. There's a preaching opportunity over there also. Oh, my weekend was ecstatic. I went to the temple. We were so busy over there, but it was so much fun. Weekend well spent. And everybody just their eyebrows raised for a second and said, what do you mean? Like you had Janmashtami celebration, you did not sleep, you were doing this, you were doing that, and you're saying you were happy about it? What kind of weekend celebration is that? Even that puts in question. You'll be surprised Srila Prabhupada again and again emphasizes about not just being a Vaishnava, but appearing as a Vaishnava and acting as a Vaishnava also. A simple thing as wearing a tilak always can also make a huge difference. And I did not realize that. So I tell you the story about my Guru Maharaj, okay? And that had inspired me for a long time, but it took me, I don't know how many years to be able to put that into action for myself. But he gave this story where he used to work, and this is way long back. He was working in a telemarketing firm, okay? And his job was basically to pick up the phone and call in somebody and try to sell them a particular plan for their phones and all of those things. And we get those calls. So he's making all these calls, he's doing his sales, something on the order. One day, and he's like, what am I doing? He's a brahmachari. What am I doing? What is this kind of life that I'm spending? This is not how I'm supposed to be doing. And one day, he kind of goes into a revolt mode and he wears his tilak and says, I'm going to go to work. Now, how does Krishna reciprocate to him? And he says this amazing thing. He says, that day, his own words are, I was on fire. He made one sale after another. Like the highest sales ever done in that office was done by him on that day when he worked. Now, guess what the boss says? He says, I don't know what is there on your forehead over there, but I want you to wear it every day. So that is my Guru Maharaj's experience, and he shared with me over the period of years. But again, knowing and realizing are two different things. It is only recently, I would say, close to the orders of 2.5 years or so that that instruction, I put that into practice. Just wearing tilak to work, just wearing tilak while going and coming. And then I realized what Srila Gurudev was saying. Just by the tilak, I've got so much opportunities to talk about Krishna everywhere. There have been such amazing conversations that people have stopped saying, hey, what is that on your forehead? And that gives an opportunity to talk about Krishna. Slightest, tiniest things we don't even realize. Wearing a kanti, going to a store, how many times have we been said Hare Krishna at the checkout counter? It's happened to me multiple times now. Not just Indian stores, Walmarts, everywhere. Right? So just by following these instructions gives us the power enough to be able to be an instrument to give Krishna to somebody else in some shape and form. And one of the instructions very clearly is the book distribution process. Right? We might not be qualified based on where our level is, we can talk in that perspective only. Like when Srila Prabhu was training, just show the back of the book if you want to. Just show the university that is testifying about this being an authentic copy of Bhagavad Gita. What you have to understand is, in this time and age, we talk about being very busy, having multiple things to be done. We don't realize the fact that Krishna is very merciful. He knows it. Our struggles, our difficulties, he's fully aware of it. And that is why this process of giving the bona fide knowledge to others, sharing the science with others, has also been made easy for us. How was the scriptures shared before? When we read Chaitanya Charitamrita, there are these verses which describe this entire process very nicely. and then there are some things which have very clearly been indirectly also indicated over there. All these scriptures were handwritten on leaves. So we are not having to handwrite and then walk to distribute it in different towns and villages out there. Imagine having to write this entire Srimad Bhagavatam by hand with all the verses and all the purport. There are such examples in the Chaitanya Charitamrita where devotees have been writing them by hand and then going and distributing it. That is the amount of effort that was put in at that moment. That was the level of sadhana required. And then there came this time where printing presses became available to us. And that is when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj gave the instruction to Srila Prabhupada, says, whenever you have money, print books. He called the printing presses as the Brihad Mridanga, the loudest of all the Mridangas. The sound of this Mridanga can be heard in a particular place, can attract a given limited number of souls to Krishna. But this is Brihad Mridanga. It is so loud that it can go in every corner and attract living entities towards Krishna. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj's instruction to Srila Prabhupada was to print books whenever he had money. He followed that instruction. His instruction to us is distribute books whenever possible. It's a family business is what he calls it. One after the other, this business has to go on. When you have been given the training completely for it, the books are not supposed to be there idle. So these are the instructions that we are supposed to be actioning on. Now let's talk about real quick of how do we action it, right? Not everyone feels comfortable in standing on the street and talk about take a book, even though there are very nice tools and techniques that are taught for us to be able to. And there every devotee does it in a very different way, and you will be so surprised. So very recently, Prabhu was giving a training, right? Can I have a copy? And he just said, the copy of Bhagavad Gita in itself. So he gave this very interesting method. And if you try it on the street with anybody, if you don't do it if you want to try it for any other reason, also just try it. And he says, the very amazing magnet that you have in your hand. Does anybody know what that is? Just in order to attract anybody else and start talking to them. Waving is one radar, but there's a magnet that he talked about in the training. And it 100% works. Just a fist bump. All you have to do is stand over there and put your hand out like this. People will stop and give you a fist bump. It 100% works. Like I was surprised by saying, oh, it's such a simple thing, what are you talking about? Such simple techniques, again, the acharyas are telling us exactly how it has to be done. If we try doing it, and here's what he says, right? You don't have to talk too much. When you open up the book, and he's showing up all of these amazing things over here, he's saying, look at the starting places. There's all of these big universities which are given in testimonies over here of how amazing this book is, and that you can kind of use in order to testify, right? Saying, you show them, see so many great personalities. We don't realize this, well, I think I was typing it wrong in the chat, but Vaishnav Prabhu, he would say, like, the only thing we have to do is touch the pavement. All we have to do is go out, and we are nobody to be able to distribute books, right? Krishna uses us as an instrument, Srila Prabhupada uses us as an instrument. You'll be surprised of how sometimes people will just come by and say, hey, you have a Bhagavad Gita in your hand, I want it. It can be as simple as that also. Where Krishna, and my realization is, when you start doing book distribution, when you start doing it, you'll be able to distribute books very fast. But then it slows down afterwards because Krishna just wanted to give you a taste. Now you work hard for it. Now every book distribution becomes a little bit more work. Or it is as simple as we complicate it too much. Now we are too learned to be able to simplify and give it to others. Point being is, you have to be intelligent. Whom are we talking about? Whom are we talking to, right? Based on that, we can come in and initiate our conversations. Now, there are very different stimulus that are available to us in order to be able to do this service. Once we get a taste of it, only then we realize how amazing this is, right? Now we have a stimulus coming in very soon. The month of Kartik, Damodar Mas. Devotees in the month of Kartik do amazing austerities. Like when you go to Vrindavan, the devotees do super high austerities also. Something which is way beyond even something I can even imagine, right? For us, we can do something, right? In order to just try out these words. Srila Prabhupada says, this is a science. This entire knowledge in this is a science. So do the experiment, see it for yourself. So when the month of Kartik is coming now, it's so simple, right? There's so many different ways. We have so many books available, right? Every individual in this hall, just take 2 copies, right? We know somebody. In the entire month, we'll meet nothing less than 1,000 people. We will not be able to talk to half of them. 500 gone now. For 500, we will be able to make a little courage to talk about. In that maybe 100, there is a little tiny conversation that might start. Out of that 100, we are doing a little conversation. Maybe with 50, we are able to start coming to the subject matter of saying the word Bhagavad Gita also. Out of that, maybe 5 will get interested to listen. Out of that, maybe at least 1 will take it. In 1 month, with this simple math, we can come to the point of doing 1 Bhagavad Gita distribution at least. Nobody's asking for big numbers. It's only to get the taste. When we are making the effort, that effort is what is counting. Krishna does not see that you distributed 1 book. He sees you try to talk to 1,000. So the count is 1,000, not 1. Right? So in the month of Kartik, again, either we are able to come to the point of being able to do that conversation ourselves, we take the book ourselves and we take it and we start trying to give it to somebody, even if you're giving it as a gift, not being able to take it as a donation, that is fine. Right? But giving that out, so many devotees will be sponsoring. Even being able to go and giving that sponsored Bhagavad Gita to somebody is also an achievement in itself. If you are not able to do that, then we can at least become an instrument for others. In the month of Kartik, we again do these amazing, beautiful deep dance. Right? There will be multiple lectures coming in. We'll be talking about the significance of all of that once we start coming closer to the Kartik. But in all of these months, we come and going to do all of these different things. Facilitate it in your home if you want. Right? You can have a small home program with a couple of your neighbors. Just have a little, somebody, you just have to organize, right? Krishna is so merciful. Somebody will come into the kirtan, somebody will come into a little talk, somebody will come and set up a book table, somebody. If you have the desire, it will all happen. Right? So in the month of Kartik, we can take different type of vows which help us elevate ourselves into the process of Krishna consciousness. Whatever is possible for individually each one of us, let's take that vow and let's try and do it. When we take that vow, Krishna helps us achieve it. But even if we are not able to achieve it, he does not mind it if we have made it the sincere effort. Right? So taking a vow does not mean, oh, if I come and say, and I'm not able to do, then what? That's not a problem. In the material world, the results count. In the spiritual world, the efforts count. Right? So that's a very simple way in which we can kind of get started with this process of book distribution in the month of Kartik or even before that. We have till December, till when we're calling ourselves as being in the Gita marathon, till Gita Jayanti, right? Very simple steps, just try it out, the fist bump, make somebody stop, try to talk them very simply of your realization of the Bhagavad Gita. From now to December, I'm sure you can do at least 2 Bhagavad Gita, if nothing else, right? But that is where, let's come back to the verse, right? That's our effort. The secret that we are trying to give out, now there's this very nice, amazing lecture that I had attended in Delhi, and they said, coming to the final part is just a secret, right? We cannot just keep giving it to everybody, right? So what is this point of sharing the secret with everybody? He says, somebody looks at the Bhagavad Gita and says, it's Sanskrit. Now this very nice, very senior devotee, he was like saying, do you think the Bhagavad Gita is Sanskrit? How many of you think the Bhagavad Gita is in Sanskrit? Then I'm asking the question, obviously nobody will raise the hand. But his point being was, the fact that it has been translated into English, Gujarati, Marathi, Spanish, French, etc., does not mean the essence of the Bhagavad Gita is lost. Does not mean its potency is lost. The Bhagavad Gita is not limited to a particular language itself, right? So it is there in a very plain, simple language for us to be able to read it, but still the knowledge within it is a secret. It is publicly available in so many different forms, in libraries, ebooks, everywhere, but it is still a secret because that secret is only revealed through a devotee. Right? And depending on that is where the intelligence has to come, is depending on the intelligence of the person, now we engage them in differently. Somebody you might just talk outside for a minute and give them a little prasad and make them go. Even that works. That one experience I'm going to share very quickly, and that will help to understand where am I going with this is, distributing of the Bhagavad Gita that we were just talking about does not necessarily mean the book going into the hand. It can also mean laying down the foundation for that to happen. This is years ago. What happened was with the Toronto Sankirtan team, we used to go out regularly at the same spot again and again. I'm pretty new, brand new out, right? And I'm going out for Sankirtan. There's this very aged person who's coming in and walking towards me. And I use the same techniques that I'm going to talk about, and I stop him. And he's talking. So I'm here, he's in front of me, and across the street is our book table. And all the other devotees, senior devotees are over there, okay? And I'm talking to this old person, and he's listening to me very nicely. He's listening, he's being very careful. And then, in my conversation, others on the other side of the road cannot hear the conversation. But he's very clearly now, I think he's going to take out some money to give donation, he's going to take a book. And having that conversation. And in the background, imagine these senior devotees like, what is happening? They never said no, what are they trying to tell me? Anyways, they're trying to, and the walk sign is not open, so they're not able to come to my rescue as they're thinking that they have to come to my rescue. And in the meanwhile, this person hands over cash, takes the book and goes away. And the devotees were like, jaw dropped. What's happening? When I crossed the road, then what was all this about? Then the entire story for the last 2 years got woven together. So this person comes in at the same spot every time there is Sankirtan happening because his schedule and the Sankirtan schedule somehow used to collide. First time, one of the devotees stopped him. Okay? He shouted like anything. And then, you guys are cheats. You guys are doing business over here. Then somebody said, I also had stopped him. But he was not like shouting. He was angry, but he was not like crazy shouting. He said, I don't want all of these nonsense to be happening here, etc., etc. Then what are you talking about? I had also stopped this person like a few months ago. And he was again saying things, but he was not angry. Okay. So on. And now to the point when he took a book. Over the period of 2 years, his interaction with different devotees set down the ground where he took the Bhagavad Gita from me. So did I distribute the Bhagavad Gita? No. So all of these devotees who had been putting in that foundation for this one soul to come to Krishna. It was a 2 years effort. So even if you're going out and you're having these conversations, and even if you're just showing the Bhagavad Gita to somebody, and it just brings into their mind, think, oh, there's an English Bhagavad Gita also available that I can maybe buy someday. That's it. That's the seed sown right there. Oh, there's just a Bhagavad Gita. There's a book like that also. Oh, it's available in the stores. Nice. Seed sown. We don't realize how amazing Krishna's plan is. He's the master planner. He has a plan for every soul. We have to be an instrument. That's it. And that is what Krishna is saying in this verse. If you do that, then all of these qualifications of you coming into me is guaranteed. You being the most dear, most devotee for me is guaranteed. That's all we have to do. So let's stop there. It's very quick 2 minutes. If there are any questions, comments, or realizations, we can take that before the darshan opens for everybody. Anybody having any questions or comments or realization? Yes, ma'am.
What austerities do they usually do in Vrindavan during summer?
There are a lot. They fast, and then there's a ritual that they do in which they eat cow dung and etc. etc. It's very difficult. You know, even in the cold winters of Vrindavan, they don't use hot water and etc. etc. That is very. Srila Prabhupada has never said that we need to do it. What my point being was, people do so much, and all we have to do is simply go and stand outside the book. It's same. The end result from a Krishna's perspective is the same. We try and do these austerities in order to cleanse ourselves. We have a rapid cleanser available right here in the terms of going out for Sankirtan. It's the same effect. So that much difficulty is not that is true.
From the verse 68, on purport, Srila Prabhupada says, distributing books only to
The qualified.
qualified people or to
Yes.
devotees.
Yes.
But when we go out, usually we approach a lot
We approach everybody.
who are not
Yes.
qualified, or they
We approach everybody because we don't know who's qualified, who's not. Krishna decides it. We as instruments are going to stand over there. Do you want a Bhagavad Gita? Do you want a Bhagavad Gita? The ones who are qualified is the one who will take it, otherwise they will not even take it. We are not qualified enough to judge somebody else's qualification. That's why we stand and give to everybody. So, yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Shri Prabhupada ki jai.